get back to the main thing here. Okay, so it is right at 7 o'clock, and we can get started. Okay, welcome in everybody. We're broadcasting live at Shantivilla Institute. I'm the Agnihotra lady, and this is the Cosmic Clinic. We're here at the Atlanta location in Conyers, Georgia. And tonight's talk is the brothers and sisters of the soil. So as normal, we're going to get started with the Varuti mantra and then jump right into the talk, okay? Boo swaha, Agnihotra namama vaswaha, Vayaveda namama swaswaha, Suryayada namama Bhurva vaswaswaha, Rajapatiyeda namama. Okay, so welcome in everybody. This is the Agnihotra Ladies, the Cosmic Clinic, broadcasting live here at the Conyers location. Our main location is in Tuskegee, Alabama, and we're broadcasting live here at the Conyers location. And as most of you know, that our main location is undergoing a lot of renovations, so we're not open to the public. But this location here in Conyers is open by appointment only. You can message me or email us, and I'll give you that information at the end of the Facebook Live about how to make an appointment to come by if you're like to visit the Conyers, Georgia location. So tonight's talk is the brothers and sisters of the soil. Brothers and sisters of the soil. So there's been a lot of talking recently about the soil, about contaminated soil, not just even contaminated soil, but soil is affected by air and water. So when other things are contaminated, it affects the soil. So when you're talking about taking care of the soil, you really are talking about taking care of everything within the ecosystem. We've talked about many times about the scientific principle of man, microbes, flora, fauna. And so when one of the things in this is disrupted, then everything is disrupted. But particularly because so many people have been talking about the soil and doing regenerative farming and all of the things with the Roundup, with these lawsuits and people that have been using Roundup and people that eat plants that are have been sprayed with these harmful pesticides. We really are talking about anything that we can do to preserve the soil because everybody has to eat healthy, nutritious food. And because of what we have done, what mankind has done to not really preserve the soil and not do a good job of taking care of the planet, then the soil is suffering, which means the water is suffering. And the air quality is suffering because of the things we do to the soil. And so, as people know, we have the sunshine that activates the chlorophyll in the plants, and this is how the plants get their nutrients and they bloom and grow for all the food that we eat. So when we have a lot of pollution that comes that we generate on the planet, it affects the plants, the animals, and of course we as humans. We're part of these things that are affected. And so it's really important that we take care of the soil, because if we have a bad environment, that equals bad humans, because we are a mirror image of what's happening to the planet. Okay, so what is happening in the environment happens within the minds of the humans and the bodies of the humans. Okay, because pollution is just not something on the surface. It is something that is in every pore of the body, the pores of the earth, the water, the soil, everything. We're talking about affecting every system that the planet has going on here. So when we take care of the soil, take care of it very well, then we become brothers and sisters of the soil. And so you have to understand that people have been planting food for a long time. And there are many ways to plant, and there are many ways I've seen just regenerative farming and making compost and things like that. But we need to understand that this is such an ancient technology. The soil itself is an ancient technology. Because think about it. You have this soil, and as soon as you put a seed in there and you water it, and then there's an automatic process in which everything is growing, the food that we eat, the food that we consume into our bodies. So that is ancient technology. Okay. Once you tamper with that process that has been set in place from Mother, Father, God, then what do you think you're doing? Okay. You can't suppose to interfere with this process that is very perfect. And it happens automatically. When you interfere with this, the chlorophyll being activated by the sun, then all sorts of problems happen. You have plant disease or soil problem, soil that breaks apart. You have human disease, animal disease as well too, all sorts of things, just because you're not taking care of the soil. And so to be really good brothers and sisters of the soil, okay, we have to understand that the soil is the very foundation of how we live, how we nurture ourselves, how we nurture all of the rest of the ecosystem. Okay. It's really, really important to understand that. And so with Agnihotra is what we teach here at Shantivilla Institute. Agnihotra is a Vedic science practice that is tuned to the circadian rhythm of nature. So at sunrise and sunset, we put substances in the copper pyramid. We put dried cow dung that is smeared with ghee. We use brown rice. Okay, we utter a Sanskrit mantra, and so this process, this ancient technology, it brings about a purification process. And so there's a cascading effect of energies and ethers and electricities that cascade upon the planet at sunrise. And so what is happening is we're putting nutrients back up into the atmosphere, and a protective bubble, an auric field is formed that it rejuvenates, it purifies everything. So it restores the cleanliness of the water. It cleans pathogenic bacteria out of the air. Okay. It restores soil. You hear what I'm saying? So you, as you perform this, okay, especially if you do this on a daily basis, then you become healed as you are affecting the healing of the planet. So it's very important, especially nowadays with all of the contamination that we've been hearing about. Most recently here in the United States, we've had the event there in Ohio, Palestine, with the train collision there, or the trains going off the track rather. And so there's been a lot of contamination of soil and the water and all of that. And so we're talking about something that can restore all these things that are happening, and not just that community, but other places that you may not hear reports on all the time that have leaking of radiation, leaking of pollutants. I know we got vinyl chloride and all these different things. And recently, I think in the Ohio River the other day, they reported that a barge, it sank and something may be leaking or whatever. So we're talking about a lot of environmental pollution that is generated daily, just here in the United States and just other parts of the world too. And Agnihotra is a way to address this, to clean up the water, clean the air, clean the soil. And so we have to understand that this is community building. We've talked about this many times. So when we talk about being brothers and sisters of the soil, We're talking about being in one with the soil, understanding how important the soil is. Okay. The Agnihotra process is a way to understand your place as a human being and taking care of the soil. So just think about the soil. There are many layers of the soil. Okay, and the soil has these many layers, and when you water and you put the seed there and you water, there's a special process that happens within those layers of the soil. You have microorganisms there. Okay, and everything works in harmony. The worms, who are the true farmers, they are working when they're fed. Okay, and you do, if you're doing agriculture, you put the ash, because when this fire goes out, when you do agriculture in the sunrise and sunset, we use the ash in the soil, and this is called Homa farming. And so that ash is there, and is working in all those layers of the soil. Okay, and the worms are kept happy. Everything is restored to its natural order. There's a balance there. Okay, so when people are doing natural farming techniques, regenerative techniques, um, they're part of that, the layering there. You have in your communities, you have many different people that make up the communities. And so consider that like the layers of the soil. And so when everything or everyone within the community is working together, then you have harmony, then you can grow. Just like the food grows when things are planted and watered properly, then you grow, and then you have something that blooms. That is what happens too when people are farming in the communities. Those layers of the community, they begin to bloom and grow. And this is how you transform any community or any neighborhood. When you're growing food together, okay, you're growing inside yourself. You're learning just how integral you are to being caretakers of this planet. Okay, there's a healing that takes place within you. And with the Agnihotra process, we're talking about restoring the electron flow within the planet, the electron flow within your body. Okay, we're talking about atomic, okay, repair, okay, DNA repair. Okay, we've talked about this. So when you're doing Agnihotra all of the time and Homa gardening, you're talking about taking things to the most subtle level and repairing it. DNA repairing. Okay, we're talking about atomic level repair, because we have done so many things to the atoms to disrupt them, and it causes a disruption to the entire planet. This is how we create diseases, when we keep tampering with the atoms and keep tampering and tampering, because we're destroying. And this science that is not regenerative, because true science in the Vedic sense does not destroy. Okay. True science in the Vedic system, you do not destroy. There's a balance. Okay, so all this science that they're saying, and if something happens and they have to repair this other thing that they have done, because this particular scientific discovery destroyed something and caused this other unforeseen result, that's not true science. Okay, you can't destroy one thing to create something else. Now in nature, there is a balance. When something goes away, it is regenerated. So there's no true death in the nature system, because there's a constant system of destroying and then rebirth. Everything is recycled. Everything is in constant cycle of life. Okay, so we have to understand that when we're dealing with the soil. So soil as we know it is, oh my God, millions of years old. Okay, it takes a long time to build soil. Soil is consisted of dead leaves and dead animals and dead plants and insects and all these things. And so that's layers and layers. So that is nutrient dense if you just leave it alone. When you start spraying all of these synthetic chemicals, then you disrupt um, the microbes in the soil. Okay, you disrupt that. Okay, and everything is a delicate balance. So when we're talking about Agnihotra, we're talking about something that is repaired on a subtle level, the subtle energy level. Okay. This is why it's very important that whatever work you need to do internally, that when you're sitting in front of the fire doing Agnihotra, that you're cleaning that up too. When you sit quiet, we sit while the fire is going. Then when the fire goes out, you can sit there a little bit longer, but there is something happening, a subtle change within you, because the Agnihotra, as we said before, it goes 8 miles, 8 miles up, 2 mile radius. And so it's a cleansing, a purification. It forms a protective bubble around the area, and the plants are like, yes, I can breathe again now. I can be restored. All of the animals, everything is rejoicing because there's nutrients being put up into the atmosphere. So there's an interaction between the sun and the solar system and the copper pyramid. Okay, this is the Vedic science, the ancient Vedic technology that Agnihotra and Homa gardening, Homa farming is based upon. So this process is the restoration, the balance that is essential for nature to function, okay, and go through its natural process of dying and then rebirth, the regeneration. This is the natural process that we should not interfere with. And so when we're talking about brothers and sisters of the soil, this is the wisdom that our ancestors knew about before we had any books that were written. The ancient wisdom. Okay, the soil holds that wisdom, and if you touch the soil every day, okay, you walk upon the soil every day, you will gain that wisdom too. The plants hold wisdom. The soil holds wisdom. And you too hold that same wisdom too, because the plants and the soil, they're inside of every one of our bodies. Okay. We just have to sit still and listen and touch the soil. So for those of us that garden and farm, we're going outside every day. We feel the wind beating across our face. We look at the trees. We look at the sun. We touch the soil. This is how you gain the ancient wisdom, because there is a communication that happens when you are touching the soil. And you can feel the soil and you touch the tips of the plants. And just so you know, when you are filled with love, universal love, the plants can feel that, because we radiate that, and the plants feed off of us, the plants and the trees and other animals. They can feel that. The entire planet exists upon that high vibration of love. This is how the universe functions, on vibration. Okay? So the soil itself, if you're not feeling good, just touch the soil. Walk in bare feet on the soil. Feel the vibration, and the vibration will heal you. This is very ancient wisdom that all of the people, our ancestors, people that live in the jungle, indigenous peoples, they know this because they're out there communing with all of these parts of them. These are all the parts of the Mother, Father, God, the Creator. Okay? They're in touch with that because they're outside. They're observing. They are directly working with the soil. Okay? So those of us that live in urban cities and you may not be near the soil, go to a park, a nearby park, and just observe what happens. The birds in the morning, look at the insects flying around, the butterflies, all of this. So these are tons of things that that we can look at, that we may not have time in our busy everyday lives, especially in the modern society, and see really what is happening subtly around us. The insects, the butterflies. Take a look at the dandelions that most people call weeds. It's medicine. It helps with the cancer and all of that. Everything here is like some type of medicine, all the plants. And the soil is part of that. So now we have soil that is producing cancer bacteria that leads to cancer inside humans. Okay. This is in the soil because we're not taking care of it. Okay. And now you have places where people are planting and planting 1, 2, and 3 times and nothing is growing. Okay, because the soil has to be restored. It has to be constantly tended to. And really tending to the soil is not putting the chemicals in there. And so understand that every speck of sand, every little microscopic piece of dirt, okay, all of these things, they work in concert to grow our food. All of those specks of sand and dirt, all of that, the components of that is inside every human body. And so when you think about the process of touching the soil, putting the seed inside the soil, okay, growing something, watering it, tending to it, this is what you're doing for your own human health when you tend to the soil. Because like I said before, we are a reflection. We are a reflection of nature and the planet. So our human minds are the reflection of the planet. You think about this when you hear about all these violent shootings and things like that. We are a reflection of the planet. If we do not take care of the planet, there's chaos there with our thoughts. We are a reflection of that soil. The soil, when it has balanced microbes, very good soil to plant things that are healthy for us to eat. Okay, so that means that we are healthy and we are balanced when the soil is balanced. Healthy soil equals healthy minds and healthy humans. Healthy planet means we have healthy humans that live on the planet. There's no separating any of that. So just understand that this is very important. And when we're talking about being brothers and sisters of the soil, just like we may have our favorite brother, our favorite sister, and we're close, we go to family events. Okay, the soil is the biggest family that we're part of. This is the family, the soil. So just like you would make sure that you're there for your brother or sister, and if they have a problem, you can call them on the phone. You go sit with them if they're not feeling well or they need advice on something. Okay, to be a brother or sister of the soil is to listen to the soil, touch the soil. What is the soil telling you? What is the whole environment telling you with this inclement weather and things like that? So with Agnihotra, as we said earlier today, it restores the soil. It cleans pathogenic bacteria from the air. Okay, it cleanses the water. It also helps with all of this inclement weather. It is a weather engineering system. Because what happens is with all these torrential winds and floods and all of that, when there is an imbalance in Vedic science, it is explained that you're going to have tornadoes and hurricanes and all of these type of torrential winds when nature needs to be back in balance. That's why we're having all of this inclement weather. So when you're performing Agnihotra regularly and other Homa fires, you're able to engineer the weather to get the weather back in balance. I'll repeat it again. Agnihotra and Homa therapy is weather engineering technology. Ancient Vedic weather engineering technology that will set the path back to balance, because nature functions best when it is balanced. All of these things that you're seeing, flooding, snowing when it normally does not snow, and it's very heavy snow, like up in New York and California, these places that you heard about, is happening because it's not balanced. Okay, nature is all about balance, and human health is all about balance. So to be brothers and sisters of the soil is really taking care of the very essence of you, because the soil is inside of you. Okay, we have to be very mindful that what we do with the soil, that's like the very essence of ourselves. We have to take very good care of the soil. Okay, so we don't want to have this cancer causing bacteria in the soil. We don't want to have to plant things 2 and 3 times and it still won't grow. We want to have soil that we take care of, because that affects the insects. Okay, so they're Master Vazant talked about in one of his earlier books about there's going to be some kind of worm that comes and eats the roots because of what we've done to the soil. So that, you know what that means? That means you won't be able to grow any food if the worm is eating at the roots. So no, we have to do a better job. And the thing is that we as humans, we're hard-headed. The only way that we listen is something really bad has to happen for us to change. And we're at that point because we've not been good caretakers that now nature is like, listen, let me just whoop you behind. Let me just whoop you back and forth because you're not listening. I tried to talk to you gently with the breeze. I tried to let the flower bloom so you could see what we need to do. This is what the Mother Earth is saying. So now you're not listening. Let me just go ahead and whoop your behind. That's what nature is doing now. I think one of my Facebook friends said on Facebook said, oh my God, they're like, Mother Nature is mad at California. No, it's the thing that there's no balance there. Too many people live in certain locations, and then there's been encroachment on other animals living there. I mean, you got houses built on cliffs and places where you shouldn't even have housing built. I mean, Native Americans knew a long time ago, don't, you're not, there's going to be a water problem. It's going to be too many people living there. It's not going to work. Native Americans knew this a long time ago. Nobody listened to them. Nobody's listening to the indigenous people, the people that live off the land, the people that touch everything and observe the animals and respect the planet. Nobody's listening to them. Everybody's thinking about, oh my gosh, how can we make more money? How can we build more of this and more of that? And you cannot do that because Mother Nature does not operate on money. Mother Nature operates on balance. That is her currency. Balance is her currency. Humans may have a currency of whatever money denomination that we spend or the money system that we believe in, but that's not how Mother Nature. Mother Nature is like, no. My currency is balance, and when there's no balance, boom, pop, 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 pop. That's what she's doing. Okay, so we have to go back to this ancient wisdom that our ancestors knew without reading a book. They just observed and did things, and they understood what needed to happen with the soil and the trees. Like they knew, only just cut down this tree if you need it for that. You don't just wipe out a whole thing of trees. No, they understood that. The Native Americans and any of the indigenous people, even now that live in the jungles and the forests, they understand this because they see what's happening to the nature around them. The fact that we have to have preserve centers for rhinos and elephants and all this stuff. The whole earth should be a reservation system, a preserve or whatever they call those places where they protect the animals. Why do we have to have places where we have to protect the inhabitants that live here, the animals and us? I mean, we shouldn't have to have a preservation center for that. This is the preservation system, the whole planet. But because we are not wise, okay? We're supposed to be wise people, wise men and women, but we're not acting that way. So let us now go back to being brothers and sisters of the soil. And by that, we mean having very specific actions of taking care of our soil. I just think that if you understand that when you are nurturing every grain of sand, every speck of dirt, okay, then this is a very big thing. Taking care of the small things is taking care of the big things. And every person has this responsibility to have the actions of being the brothers and sisters of the soil. And this is the message that we wanted to share with you today on the Cosmic Clinic. I'm so glad that you joined us. And real quick, our website is shantivillainstitute.com. That's SHANTI, shantivillainstitute.com. We have 2 Facebook pages, one for Shanti Villa Atlanta, the other one for Shanti Villa Institute, which is our main campus. And if you have any questions, you can post a question. You can ask me questions even during the broadcast. And I'll see it on the Facebook and answer questions, or you can email us at shantivillainstitute@gmail.com. We are going to be getting soon, because we're out of the pyramid. So this is our Agnihotra kits. I think I have 2 here at the Conyers location. If you're nearby, I think I have 2 left. Okay, 2 left. So, and I think we have 1 left, but we don't have it live on our website. If you're looking at our website. But we also, in addition, we have ebooks, Secret Science of Mudras. Oh, I don't even know if you can see it. Okay, written by Sri Charles, our late founder. And mudras are energy points. You got nerves that run to the rest of your body through maneuvering your fingers to your hands, and it's very healing. You can do these mudra techniques, these mudra movements, while you're meditating, or even if you're not. So we have that, and then we're going to have other new products coming soon. We're going to have essential oils sourced from the same people that source some of your popular essential oil companies. We are sourcing from the same sources, so that we're going to have that coming out here in the next week or 2. Okay. And then we're also going to be also selling our Save the Planet environmental t-shirts that have our um, um, uh, um, um, environmental things on there. It's cute little t-shirts that you can wear, and some other items that we'll be selling. Okay, to help support the work that we're continually doing. Because here in a few months we'll be doing some other work in Ohio, going there to speak and do some other work. And we appreciate all the support that you all have shown us continually. Really appreciate that as we continue to teach about taking care of the planet with the ancient Ayurvedic technology of Agnihotra and Homa therapy. Okay, so thanks for joining us this evening for this Facebook Live. Okay, and we'll be seeing you the next time. Have a wonderful evening. Be blessed.